Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. Welcome to From Recovery to Remission. My name's Linda. I'm your trauma recovery coach, and it's Friday and it's been the most amazing week. Thank you for tuning in, for everyone that comes along each morning or each evening if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. I really appreciate you and value you. Say g'day if you're here for the live and if you're here for the replay. Remember, do a hashtag replay because I really appreciate you. Good morning, Rachel. Or good evening for you, I think. I'm not sure, actually. I should look at the time. Good morning, Diana. It's great to have you ladies with me. It's exciting. I've got some really special news today too. Really exciting news, actually. And we'll just wait for a couple more people to tune in this morning and we will get going, as in I might reveal the surprise to you early. Today, however, we're going to be talking about nightmares, triggers and waking up. And we're going to do that, one, because I've been through the process again, and two, because it's a significant part of everybody who goes through complex trauma recovery. And we need to understand why. So I'm going to explain to you the process of what's happening for us at a neurobiological level, and internally. And then I'm going to explain how we can work with what's happening for us internally also. Good morning, Ali, or good evening. It's great to have you here. So, first of all, I'll save the surprise till the end, and we'll just get into talking about nightmares, triggers, and waking up. Okay, so why do we have nightmares when we've got complex PTSD, and how are they different to somebody who wakes up and says, I've had a nightmare? The simple explanation to somebody who hasn't experienced complex trauma and they wake up and they've had a nightmare, they wake up, look around, they're at home and shake it off, okay? Unless it's something that, is going to niggle at them because they've got to work out why, they just shake it off. But for us, when we're having nightmares, what's happening in our brain, all right, now it can be hard to picture our brain. Actually, I just had a thought. Let's have some fun today. So let's just open up our little head today. Here's our brain. Now, this is significant. Why? Because our brain's soft. But what we want to remember is that when we're talking about our brain, we want to use our mind, take off the lid, and we want to think about the different parts of the brain. Our brain is like this massive computer, massive supercomputer. And when I talk to you about it, we're only talking about little bits, but these little bits are significant. So what happens, let me just put the brain down for today. What happens is, as we're growing up, okay, so I'm talking about childhood developmental trauma. I'm not talking about PTSD, one-off incidents. If it applies to you, great. Absolutely fantastic. But I speak from the perspective of childhood developmental trauma, adverse childhood experiences. So what happens is when we're in childhood, our amygdala, which is our emotional processing center, okay, everything goes in there from all of our senses, and it starts turning around and allocating, what goes where. Now, it won't go into our hippocampus, which is like our super filing drawer. So if I said to you, I want you to think now about a beautiful memory that you have, something that made you feel really good, you can still see the memory and you can recall the sights and sounds and everything that was happening around you, and it was just filled with joy. Okay? What happens is you go back in and you're actually accessing your hippocampus, all right? It's not nice, neat filing drawer where everything's filed away. You go in, you pick one out, you go, oh yeah, and you can literally feel all the good stuff flooding your entire being. Okay, so what happens with nightmares is that in our amygdala, it's like having shards of unprocessed information. I used to have my sparkly bottle here to show you. It's like having all these shards of fractured memories that float around that we haven't been able to put language around. We haven't felt safe to feel the emotions. We haven't known how to process what happened at that time. And it all just gets shoved down, floats around, and this is where our triggers. This is when we get triggered, it's because a piece of shard in the amygdala just goes, safety alert, like, I'm not safe, and off we go. It triggers the whole system. That's how I view it, and it's worked for me to help me understand what's happening, and that sometimes we don't know what that piece is that triggered, all right? We just know that it's there and we haven't processed it yet, and that's okay. When it comes to nightmares, one of those pieces comes up when we're in a relaxed sleep state. So we're sound asleep, having the time of our lives because we're sound asleep. I just know it. I know it because sleep's good, especially when we're getting it, okay? And we all said amen. But what happens is we're so relaxed and our whole nervous system, so our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, which is usually tight and on freeze, is relaxed. We're all relaxed, we're chilled, sleeping. And it's like a piece comes up for us to observe or understand or put language around, and the nightmare starts. Now, the nightmare is because we don't have language. It's a nightmare because we haven't understood what was happening at the time. And it's a nightmare because of the whole chemicals and everything that gets released from the fear response. Okay? So the fear response sends adrenaline and cortisol happens. Look, it goes right through our body. It's a whole electrical impulse thing happening. So imagine where if you stuck your finger in the electrical socket and you're going like that. Well, the inside of us is like this big electrical current and it's jolting, and it's like we wake up and we go, what the? And even though we wake up and we're in a safe environment, nothing makes sense. Now, here's why nothing makes sense. When we're triggered, our prefrontal cortex, okay, in the front of our brain where it's used to put things in an order, our executive, part of our executive functioning, where it's used to put things in an order, and it's understanding, it helps put our emotions in an order, helps make our emotions understood. When we get triggered, and we're triggered in our sleep, it's offline, all right? Because the whole limbic system is in fight, flight, freeze mode, and our whole extremes are ready to bolt. So we literally wake up out of a nightmare going, and we're ready to run, and it doesn't make sense to us because we're looking around, we know we're at home, but we're not attached to the fact that we're at home because of what's happening to us internally. And it's like, oh my goodness, this, how is this happening to me again? Why is this happening? And it is very, very painful as well. So if we begin to look at it that, okay, we've got to stop and I need to breathe, okay? Which is hard to do in that circumstance because we're shallow breathing, ready to go. We're ready to bolt. And then what we need to be able to do is say, stop, I'm in a safe environment. I know that all of this stuff is happening in my internal system that I can't get control of at this time, but what I can do is be brave and start remembering what the nightmare was, okay? And that gives you access to like all the visuals in our mind of what was happening. And then as we do that, we want to give ourselves permission to feel safe, to feel how we were feeling in the nightmare. Now that sounds crazy. I've just come out of a nightmare. Why do I want to feel it again? You want to feel what was happening in there so that you can begin to understand what were the emotions around the incident, whatever it was, and the nightmare may not even be related to an incident. So, for example, last week I woke up from a nightmare, and I haven't had them in forever. I mean forever. And I went into the holy, like, what's going on, when I sat up and had to get myself back into the moment. And as I sat there thinking about what the nightmare was about, I was like, what? And in the nightmare, I could see me being pulled between, about 4 different people. And at the time, I'm thinking, but most of them are dead. What's going on? It doesn't make sense. And so what we do is go, okay, so I can see myself being pulled between people, and what am I feeling? And at the time, I was like feeling incredibly frustrated, Hi, Katja. Welcome to the family. So as I sat on the bed, and I'm feeling incredibly frustrated because it doesn't make sense. We sit there as an adult and go, what? And then I went, okay, you know what I'm going to do is just put it to one side. Leave it alone. I can't make sense of it at the moment. And what we can do is write it down in point form, breathe, and then we can get up and move. Now, getting up and moving is crucial because as we move our body, we engage our prefrontal cortex for cognitive function as well, and other parts of our brain. And as we're moving and we're taking in breaths, be conscious of our breathing, we begin to get centered in the moment again. It takes a bit of working around. Now, this trigger that happened to me last week was so severe, that I didn't even feel attached to myself. So I'm very aware of who I am, and I couldn't feel that attachment, and I went, this is bad. So I actually got up knowing that I was triggered so severely and did a session of trauma-informed movement, okay? Which means we focus on the breathing in and out slowly whilst our body's moving. Our body moving is secondary. It's the breathing in, getting more oxygen into us, that is important. And here's why. We shallow breathe so much from having been traumatized that we need to start developing a conscious habit of breathing deeper. I did trauma-informed movement for 30 minutes, and it took 30 minutes to feel reattached to myself. I went, okay, I'm here, I'm present, it's okay. But I also knew from the chemical reaction that had been happening in my brain, I knew that if I didn't sit down and have a rest, as in I knew my brain needed me to sleep. And that sounds funny when we talk about our brain like that, because we never have. But I think it's important that we do, because then we go, this was all out of my control, what happened, but what I can do is control where I go from here. Pardon me. So as I came into that awareness, I went, all right, what do I need to do this morning? What can I do? And I think I got on and did a show, session here from Recovery to Remission, and then I did up all the uploading, and then I went, can I keep going, or do I need to sit down? And what I did was, and you can do any form of this that you want, is I ate. Okay, I normally don't need breakfast, but I sat down and ate because it's a real sensory thing to do, eating. We're looking at our food, we're smelling our food, we're eating our food. And when we do sensory things, it helps ground us as well. So if you're looking for something to do, and don't try and work out how to do it when you're triggered, do these things before you get triggered. So as I was doing all the sensory thing, and, obviously it goes in through our brain, gets processed, I was like, my body was able to slow down, calm down enough internally that I just fell asleep like that. And it is exhausting. I've got to tell you, it is exhausting having this happen. So then what happened was I got up then, did my work, got on with whatever I had to do. Then later that afternoon, pardon me, I had something to eat and I had something on the TV, and without even knowing it, I passed out again. I didn't know. I must have still been exhausted. And this is one of the things that we face with complex trauma, is that we're not aware at times how tired we are, because with the childhood trauma, we had to keep going. We had to keep in that space of, I've just got to keep going to get through this. Well, until we develop an awareness of it in our day-to-day life as adults, we keep pushing ourselves. Do more, do more, do more. So that when you sit down, all of a sudden you go to sleep and you don't even know that you did. Okay? What happened was, when I came out of that particular sleep, I had another mini nightmare, so it wasn't as extreme as in the morning. But as I woke up and looked around, because I fell asleep in my lounge chair, I went, what was the dream? What was happening? And I was getting pulled between two people. And I went, I need to put language around this. I need to understand what was happening. And I just sat there and put my hand on my heart and I went, what's happening? And I just felt that in my childhood, I kept getting pulled between two people. My parents were divorced. Oh, look, there's a number of things that happened. One time I had my tonsils out, and all my grandparents, like I was 5 years of age, all my grandparents are around my bed saying, who do you want to go to? And it's like, what do you say to things like that as a 5-year-old? But anyhow, that obviously is just a minor thing, but I could begin to see the pattern in my childhood. And so then I said, all right, what am I believing? Or what is it that I need to understand to put language around that? And some of the things that I did, you can do positive affirmations. So one of the things you can do is, I am safe. I am safe. It happened in the past. And feel at ease with what happened. All right? Just go, okay, I acknowledge that I was pulled between a lot of people for a lot of reasons. So when I was really young, my parents split up and they were gone. Both of them were gone. Like, it wasn't a case of one left and I was with one. They were both just gone. And when we're really young, we don't have language for that. And when we're young, from the generations we've come from, and nobody talks about anything, it's very confusing for a child. So I sat down and did my whole process of working through what that meant for me. And look, by all means, do what I do as well. Sit down and journal it out, because when we're writing, we're using a number of senses as well, but we can often begin to see the pattern forming. It helps us incredibly, all right? Journaling also will put language around it that we may not think about, all right? So it's a real internal, heartfelt process that we do, and it's unique to each of us. Remember, we want to do the movement. We want to get up and move our bodies so that our bodies begin to know that we're safe to move around as well. We want to get our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems back moving instead of being on freeze mode, all right? There is so much work to be done. We need to do the work. Rest is important once we've been triggered. Not straight away, because the movement helps us get centered again in the here and now. But rest at some point will be important, especially if you get triggered to the major extent I did that morning. And without even knowing it, my body was exhausted. So it's challenging. It is challenging work, but it's worth it. And then the next couple of days I had minor triggers, but I was able to deal with them effectively and keep moving forward. Now they're gone. So now, once we deal with them, the amygdala actually files it away in the hippocampus. And one that came up, I had a nightmare one morning, and I was like, why on earth am I dreaming about my ex-husband who's been deceased for over, I don't know, I think it's 10 years. But as I sat down and put my hand on my heart and really thought about it, I thought, gosh, I feel so guilty that things didn't work out. And I went, oh my goodness, I would never have thought of that. But as I was able to have compassion for myself, for him, and understanding, it all filed away. And we get back to that space of love and peace inside ourselves where we know that no matter what, everything is going to be okay. So if we go back and look at it, from the neurobiological process forward, we begin to understand that when we wake up in these states of sheer terror, we're going to be okay, and we can process it and we can get it filed away so that it doesn't happen again. Another important thing that we can do is talk it out with someone. That afternoon, when I had the same trigger happen twice in one day, I said to my younger son, listen, I don't need you to do anything. I just need to verbalise what's happened in order that it's like putting all the cogs into place. And I did. I just said to him, this is what happened. This is what happened. And then I just went, oh, now it makes sense. I understand what the whole episode was trying to teach me. So do this and do it in a manner that honours who you are, and knowing that what's happening from the brain forward is not your fault, but we can learn to manage it in a way that is healthy. So I'm really far along my journey, but it will still come up when our brain knows that we're able to deal with it. Now that sounds really funny, doesn't it? So, our brain stores it away until we do have the ability to understand it. We do have the language, and oftentimes it's not even about the incidences that cause the trauma. It's about things that happen that we held on to that we didn't know. Okay? I hope, Lisa, you're welcome. Yeah, Rachel, when you're falling asleep, it's a different matter again. I found falling asleep, I went through this whole stage of falling asleep, and then 20 minutes later I'd wake up, and it took me ages to work out that I was waking up with anxiety. I have to get up and walk around and calm down, but I use one of my sleep humidifier thingies with the 6 functions on it. That's really started to help me have a restful sleep. Okay, every day has been getting better and better and better. I don't know why there are nights when I just wake up 20 minutes in, and it's religiously 15 to 20 minutes in I'll wake up. But I know this week, I did the video on the humidifier 6-in-1 thing that I bought, but this week, having that on, I have found that I'm actually able to go back to sleep. I don't know how it works, it's got a whole light thing, music thing, vaporizer, and I run it in my room all day. So I always check on the water, I go and fill it up, I put the essential oils in it, and all week when this has happened, I've been able to just go, right, just go back to sleep. I've never had that happen before. And in the early years, so about 8 years ago, when I started training myself to be able to go to sleep, is when I first, and I use breathing to do that, is when I first became aware that I was waking up 20 minutes in and it was from anxiety. So there are things that we can do, and there are natural things we can do to combat that as well. Another one to combat, to help us get to sleep, to help us relax, is a drop each, and make sure you're not sensitive to 100% essential oils. So a drop each of marjoram, chamomile. So German chamomile is just as good. It's less expensive than pure chamomile. And lavender. Some people only need the lavender, but I needed all 3. And I used to just put a dot of each under my nose, and that helped me go to sleep. Another thing I've been using, which I don't have with me on the desk this morning, is I went down to my local chemist, so translate that pharmacy, and in America they call it something else again. So where you get prescriptions from, and see if they've got 100% essential oil in a little bottle, and it's got a roller ball on top. And then I bought one for stress, and it's just beautiful. And you just put it on your pressure points. Here. I put some under my nose. And it really does help the body de-stress. I just put it on as often as I need to during the day, and it's been fantastic. And it was inexpensive. Like in Australia, it was about, I think they were only $14, and it just lasts and lasts and lasts. And I'd go and get another one straight away. If we can help deal with the stress during the day, it'll help us at night as well. So essential oils are brilliant for this as well. I think that was, yeah. So, and I also have one running in my office here daily, and I put in the drops for it's sleep, stress, and there's something else as well. It does 3 things, but it's really helped me become more well as well. All right. So there's lots of information this morning. I hope a lot of that has helped. And we start doing the process just one bit at a time, and we can do it. But remember, reach out and talk to someone. If you're not in group, by all means, jump into group and say, look, I've just had a nightmare, and I just need to process it, talk it out. And, people will help you. They will help listen and help you process. And we don't have to solve it overnight. Like the day that I had 2 in one day, quite by accident. Well, as you can see, it's not something that we do intentionally. It helps us to have the confidence and the courage to process it. All right, because we can do this. Yeah, they are, aren't they, Rachel? Oh, the booklet. Yeah, the booklet's coming, Diana. Okay, so that's all the information for the moment. Now you've just got to put it into place. Now, the exciting news is today, the first book of Authentic Recovery gets launched. Let me just grab the title for you. Ta-da! So, we have around 50 pages of, you will get every infographic. So let me show you what the infographics are. I use these every day to do the videos and help you. Okay, so all the infographics, so you can download them, you can use them, you can put them on your phone, you can use them in multiple ways. You get the links to the videos, you get you get questions, so I've put questions in for every video for you to reflect on. You get the sheets so that you can write them out, and also you can put the PDF into a PDF read-write, which is free, and fill them out online. So you can do everything online, or you can print the booklet out. It's up to you. You can do 1 video a day, or you can do 1 video and do the self-reflection for a week. Okay? If you have a therapist or a trauma coach, you can use them to integrate the information in your day-to-day life, and this is what we need. We need this information, and we need the self-reflection so that we begin to integrate everything into our day-to-day life and we become more well. And it works. Because I'm sitting here talking. For those who are new and don't know, I spent 2.5 years in bed with a full-time carer, unable to walk, talk, or take care of myself at all. And this has been a long road to get here. So I know this stuff works. And as soon as this video gets uploaded and I add the link in, it'll be available to you. For most currencies, it'll be around $10 with currency conversion. For Australia, it's $14. Cheap recovery tools that work. No, I shouldn't say cheap. Inexpensive recovery tools that work, that are effective. Because I want you to have effective information, and I want you to be able to put it into your day-to-day life, so that you see what's happening for you, because complex trauma is unique and individual to each of us, okay? So if you're here this morning And you would like me to let you know when it's ready this morning, because just trying to think. So within the next hour, 2 at the most, it'll be ready for you to download and go. Okay, not that you want to go at late at night, but it will be ready and you will be the first ones that have it, which is amazing. Diana, in US it'll be just under $10, so $9 something US dollars. And euro was around, let me just double check. I haven't got it. I had it up on my screen. So euro was around 6 or 5, I think. Around that. And same with pounds. It was around 5 or 6, the conversion rate. Australian dollars is the best because everyone overseas gets it cheap. It's really inexpensive. That's right. It is inexpensive. And it works. So your recovery to remission journey is expedited. Very much so. And your therapist or your trauma coach will thank you as well, because you will come along to your sessions with more information to share about yourself and your journey, and they will help you with strategies and so much more for success. Okay? Absolutely. And I personally believe that we need these tools that don't cost an arm and a leg, that help us integrate all this information into our day-to-day life. So if you would like me to let you know when it's available this morning, just say yes please in the comments down below, and I will let you know. Okay, have the most wonderful weekend. Make sure you plan something that feels good, and enjoy yourselves, and know that I value and appreciate each and every one of you who's come along on the journey with me, because it's challenging, but we're having a good time together all around the world. Okay, have a great day or a great evening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.